here are some topics for you today. Today in world news, we have U.S. and U.K. reject reports of imminent prisoner deal with Iran. The U.S. and the U.K. dismissed reports coming out of Iran. Iran was a key topic of discussions Monday between U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his host in London, British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab. Their meeting took place a day before the first face-to-face meeting of foreign ministers from the group of 7 leading industrial nations in 2 years, largely due to the coronavirus pandemic. Iran, Ukraine, China, Russia, climate change, and COVID-19 are expected to dominate the talks. Blinken's visit to London, his first since being appointed by President Joe Biden, comes amid mounting speculation of a prisoner swap deal with Iran. Such exchanges are not uncommon and were a feature of the 2015 nuclear accord between Iran and the world's leading powers. Biden has indicated he is looking to restart nuclear talks with Tehran after his predecessor, Donald Trump, pulled the U.S. out of the agreement in 2018. The reports coming out of Tehran are not accurate, Blinken said as a press briefing after their meeting, adding he had no higher priority than bringing all detained Americans home. More broadly on this, we have to take a stand against the arbitrary detention of citizens for political purposes, he said. Raab also dismissed that prospects of an imminent breakthrough amid reports in Iran that Britain will pay a 400 million pounds, that's 550 million US dollars, debt to secure Zaghari Ratcliffe's release. He insisted that the British government was working very intensely on the held arbitrary and, in our view, unlawfully, Raab said. In Britain, there's particular interest in the well-being of being Zaghari Ratcliffe, who was last week sentenced to an additional year in prison of charges of spreading propaganda against the systems. The two diplomats discussed an array of subjects, such as sanctions on Russian citizens, climate change, and Biden's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from Afghanistan later this year, a process that began in earnest over the weekend. Russia and its aggressive actions toward Ukraine were also on the agenda, with Blinken set to travel to the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv on Wednesday. Biden is also set to take a new approach with regard to North Korea following a policy review completed last week. Blinken, who met in London with his Japanese and South Korean counterparts earlier Monday, said the new approach will be practical and calibrated, and urged the leadership in Pyongyang to take the opportunity to engage diplomatically. On Tuesday, the top diplomats from the U.S., Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the U.K. will meet along with the foreign minister colleagues from selected other countries, including Australia, India, and South Africa. Ahead of the gathering, German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas warned that the authoritarian states around the world are trying to play us against each other, and that the breaches of international law have become commonplace. It is important that we hold our values of democracy, state of law, human rights, and a global order based on rules against them, united and credibly, he said. And that is news on the U.S. and the U.K. And about a third of Mexicans show exposure to coronavirus. In Mexico City, as many 1/3 of Mexicans have been exposed to the coronavirus by the end of 2020, according to a study of random blood samples taken between February and December. Antibodies were found in 33.5% of samples from blood banks and medical laboratory tests in Mexico unrelated to COVID-19. The levels varied according to regions. The high exposure rate was in the Northwest, from Baja California to Chihuahua. The lowest was in western states at 26.6. In general areas along the U.S. at higher rates. Authorities have suggested that with almost 350,000 virus deaths related and about 40 million Mexicans exposed to the virus, the mortality rate could be just under 1%. Moreover, the study suggested about 86% of those infected have developed effective antibodies, but that around 14% hadn't and couldn't be reinfected. Mexican authorities also announced that they detected 3 cases of the South African variant on Tuesday. The UK and Brazilian variants have already been detected in the country, but Mexico does relatively little variant testing. The country has received about 26 million vaccine doses and given about 17 million shots, covering over 20 million people, some of who have gotten 2 doses. That remains a small amount of the country of 126 million. Mexico has vaccinated many of its senior citizens and plans to begin vaccinating people between the ages of 50 and 59 in May. Assistant Health Secretary Hugo Lopez said Mexico will soon start receiving Pfizer vaccines from U.S. plants rather than from plants in Europe. That will make the logistics of importing the shots easier. There have been over 216,000 test-confirmed deaths related to COVID-19, but Mexico does so little testing that many people die without being tested. A preliminary government review of death certificates suggests that excessive deaths attributable to COVID-19 reached 344,000 by the start of March. There have been 395,000 test confirmed deaths since then, for a total of 346,110 total. And in San Diego, at least 3 killed and many were hurt in a boat capsized. A packed boat suspected of being used in human smuggling operation capsized and broke apart in a powerful surf along the rocky San Diego coast, killing at least 3 people and injuring more than 2 dozens, authorities said. Lifeguards, the U.S. Coast, and other agencies responded around 10:30 a.m. Sunday following reports of an overturned vessel in the waves near the rugged peninsula of Point Loma, according to San Diego Fire Rescue. There are people in the water drowning, getting sucked out of the rip current out there. 7 people were pulled from the waves, including 3 who drowned. 1 person was rescued from a cliff, and 22 others managed to make it offshore on their own. The total death total remained unclear. However, the U.S. Coast Guard said in a statement last Sunday that 4 people were dead. The local coroner's officers listed 3 dead, including a 41-year-old woman and a 35-year-old woman and a man of an unknown age. Once we arrived on the scene, the boat had basically been broken apart. Conditions were pretty rough, 5 to 6 feet of surfy, windy, and cold weather. A total of 27 people were transported to hospitals with a wide variety of injuries, including hypothermia. Most of the victims were able to walk themselves to ambulance. Officials said that the group was overcrowded on a 40-foot cabin cruiser that is larger than the typical open-top wooden panga-style boats, often used by smugglers to bring people illegally into the U.S. from Mexico. Every indication from our perspective was that this was a smuggling vessel. We haven't confirmed their nationality, said Jeff Stephenson. In Salvador and Honduras picked up a border and immediately expelled to Mexico without an opportunity to seek asylum. President Joe Biden has exempted unaccompanied children from expulsions, but the vast majority of adults are quickly sent back without facing any consequences. Border Patrol agents went to hospitals to interview survivors of the capsizing, including the boat's captain, who Stephenson described as a suspected smuggler. Smugglers typically face federal charges, and those being smuggled are usually deported. San Diego Fire Rescue Department spokesman Jose said when he arrived on the scene near the Cabrillo National Monument, there was a large debris field of splintered wood and other items in the choppy waters. In that area of Point Loma, it's very rocky. It's like the waves just keep pounding the boat, breaking it apart. There were life preservers on board, but it wasn't known how many or whether any passengers were wearing them. Among the rescuers were unnamed Navy sailor who was in the area with his family and jumped in the water to assist someone in an effort described by Romero as a huge help. Officials believe everyone on board was accounted for right away, but crews in boats and aircrafts continued to search the area for several hours for other possible survivors. On Thursday, border officials intercepted a Panga-type vessel traveling without navigation lights 11 miles. Citizen with no legal status to enter the U.S., according to a statement released by Customs and Border Protection. Two of the people on the boat, the suspected smugglers, will face charges. Border Patrol on Friday said law enforcement officials would be revamping up operations to disrupt maritime smuggling off the coast of San Diego this weekend. As warmer weather comes to San Diego, there is a misinterpretation that it will make illegal crossing safer or easier, the agency said in a statement. In early March, an SUV packed with migrants collided with a tractor-trailer in the farming community of Hopeville, California, about 125 miles east of San Diego. The crash killed 13 of 25 people inside the 1997 Ford Expedition, including the driver, in one of the deadliest border-related crashes in the U.S. history. Wow. And last but not least, tornadoes caused damage in Mississippi and trees down in Atlanta. Multiple tornadoes were reported across Mississippi on Sunday, destroying homes and uprooting trees before the storm system moved into Atlanta, prompting residents Monday to seek shelter in Georgia's largest city. There were no immediate reports of injuries. Just south of Zahoo, Mississippi, Vicki Savelle looked at the remains of her brand new mobile home where she and her husband had just moved in 8 days ago. It was her first new home. "Oh my God, my first new home in 40 years and it's gone," she said. Amid trees, tops strewn about the neighborhood and the roar of chainsaw as people worked to clear the roads. Savelle had been away from home attending church, but her husband Nathan had been driving home and hunkered down in front of his truck at the home nearby was destroyed. From there, he watched his new home blow past him. Nearby, Gary McGinty recalled being at home listening to birds chirping, then dead silence. He looked outside and saw a dark, ominous cloud and took shelter in the hallway, he said. He survived, but trees slammed into his carport, 2 vehicles, and the side of his house. A line of severe storms rolled through the state Sunday afternoon and into the nighttime hours. Late Sunday, a tornado emergency was declared for Tupelo and surrounding areas. Meteorologists urged residents to take cover. Damage has been reported in the city of Tupelo, the mayor's office said in a Facebook post just before 11 p.m. Emergency crews are currently assessing the degree of damage. Please do not get out and drive. There were multiple reports of damage to homes on Elvis Presley Drive, just down the street from the home where the famed singer was born. Presley was born in a two-room house in the Tupelo neighborhood where there was no indications that this historic home sustained damage. It's now a museum. Light poles have been snapped off, trees in a few homes, trees on vehicles, damage to several businesses. Fortunately, we have no reports at this time of injuries. Emergency personnel are working feverishly to open the roads as quickly as possible. News outlets reported tornadoes near Yazoo, Brenham, and Tushla early in the day. As the system moves east, storm damaged homes in Kentucky Town early Monday, and a tornado watch for much of the day covered large parts of Alabama and Georgia. At one point Monday, a tornado warning prompted residents of Atlanta to seek shelter. In Atlanta, police late Monday morning were responding to a call of a tree down the house on the city's west side. Atlanta police spokesman Anthony Grant said there were no immediate reports of injuries, and it is just please to be safe and stay home and stay covered as this tornado passes by. And I am Kim Seabrook. I want you to stay tuned as we will be covering more news across the world. on Millennium News 24. You can download the app on your Android phone, on your Apple phone, and you can also watch us on Roku, Apple TV, and on your Amazon Fire Stick. Again, I'm Kim Seabrook, and you're watching Millennium News 24. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Okay.
in the northern area of Setanga. Now, the high-profile killings of the European